Hey y'all, it's me, Bussy, and welcome back to Hot or Rat. And today I'll be covering episode 4 of Canada's Drag Race, Canada vs. the World, Series 2, plus some drama involving Elliot with 2 T's, again, and an update on the now closed Club Kids UK, a former tour and management company representing many of the Drag Race UK queens. So let's go ahead and start with the latest on Elliot with 2 T's, and I'm not going to rehash all of the things that have led up to this situation. I did a whole video on it a couple of weeks ago, but the latest is that she was invited onto Nina Banana Brown's channel in a video called The Raw Tea with Elliot with 2 T's, Raw View Part 1. And in one portion of the video, Nina asks Elliot specifically about the ghetto comment that she apparently made about Simone's do-rag runway, to which Elliot gave this explanation.
When she had that long do-rag on, that I guess you called it ghetto?
See, here's the thing.
Okay.
I never said that's ghetto. I said, come on, ghetto drag, yes. To me, it was like a Megan Thee Stallion,
Right.
bougie ratchet, like, because she was given this character,
Right.
this caricature with the do-rag and
Right.
everything. And so I thought I was trying to be endearing. I
Right.
thought I was trying to be complimentary. And again, if it wasn't, I'm sorry. I truly didn't want to upset anybody.
And since he uploaded this video, there have been some negative receptions to the comments Elliot made. And in a post to Jada Essence Hall's X profile account, she seemingly referenced this comment and posted this: "Caricature with the do-rag is wild," with the uneasy emoji several times after that. And Tynomi Muse followed up with a reply there, just writing, "Girl, ... And I'll be real, I think we are all tired of the Elliot situation at this point. But it's so baffling to me that Elliot can be so oblivious to what it is that she's saying and how it can affect others, especially with the context of her actively seeking out opportunities to say sorry and explain herself, a la the Joseph Shepard interview from a couple of weeks ago, where she talks at length about trying to be better and doing better. But here we still are. In another Drag Race related drama, we've got an apology from the ex-CEO of Club Kids UK, which formally announced its closure 8 or 9 months ago, and used to represent several queens from the Drag Race UK franchise for things like tours, shows, merch, etc. And allegedly this company has unpaid invoices with many different queens, but one of the ones who is very public about calling them out was Awhora, who, for example, has publicly called out that she is missing £30,000 in owed payment. And after basically 9 months of silence, the CEO now has this to say: "After a 9-month break from life, I'm ready to try and share my story and begin moving forward. For 12 years, I dedicated myself to the queer and drag community, hoping to create safe spaces where fans could experience unforgettable moments and artists could showcase their incredible talent. However, business became increasingly challenging. Ticket sales started to decline, and the mounting debt quickly became unmanageable. In hindsight, I made some poor business decisions during the last couple of years. This was to try and save the company, which ultimately led to the inability to pay artists and venues as promised. This was the point where I had to make the difficult decision to close Club Kids and enter bankruptcy. To the artists and partners who were affected, I offer my sincere apologies. Not being able to fulfill those commitments is something that weighs heavily on me every day, and I continue to reflect on those mistakes. This experience has been a tough lesson in the importance of mental health and self-care. Moving forward, I'm focused on learning from these experiences and rebuilding my life with a better understanding of the challenges that come with this kind of work." And attached to this apology was a shirtless selfie. And as Awhora put it on her Instagram story after this was posted, "Nothing says I'm sorry for robbing you of all your earnings for 8 months and leaving you with nothing, forcing you to have to leave London and start out again after messing up your mental health like a topless selfie apology. If you know, you know." It's just laughable at this point. The gumption, the gall, the audacity of it all. Anyways, let's head north to Canada's Drag Race, Canada vs. the World 2, Episode 4, in which our queens were challenged to split themselves into pairs and then compete in the first ever reading battles, which is essentially a hybrid between the traditional reading mini challenge and roast maxi challenge. The runway category was mysteriously missing. But we've got some hot tea from Miss Fiercalicious' Twitter account to spill about this situation, so stay tuned for that. And first up in round 1 of the reading battles, we've got Miss Fiercalicious, who actually had some really decent material in this, but did ultimately get a little bit lost in the delivery. But one of my favorite reads from her, and maybe one of my favorites of the night, was when she looked at Lemon and said, "I could sit here and tell you your drag is basic and you're unimaginative, but I think hearing that from RuPaul was enough." But an example of what I thought was one of her worst reads was actually her opener about performing alongside Lemon to an audience of 4 people who were all on their phones and thought that they were there to see Jan, which is not only word salady, but also confusing because I'm not totally sure what she meant that an audience thought Lemon would be Jan. I didn't get the comparison. She definitely needs some more confidence and a lot of editing, but I did enjoy it, so I'm gonna give this a warming up. But her partner Lemon was so solid in this. And you'll notice when you watch them going back and forth that Lemon is not even having to use her cue cards. She's fully memorized all of her material and says everything with a professional confidence. And I think what made her reads so accessible was the simplicity of them. Like Miss Fierce has stamped herself all over this competition. Every single challenge has been a miss. And she was also quick on her feet with some clapbacks, like when Miss Fierce delivered the RuPaul read and Lemon was quick to say, oh, actually that was just Michelle. Or like when Fierce was trying to read her for living in her parents' basement and she was like, well, at least I'm not in Suki Doll's attic. And I think because she was so prepared for her set, she was able to very quickly pivot and clap back on those reads, which made it even more successful. This is definitely a hot, but I will say, I think there maybe was a little bit of favoritism in how the judges reacted to some of the jokes, because Lemon made a joke about Kennedy's lazy eye, which the judges all loved, but when Fierce made a joke about Kennedy's $30 runway, they seemed to like clutch their pearls and gasp as if they were offended by what she said, which like could have all been editing magic, we don't know, but it did feel a little off balance there. As far as just their looks though, Fierce's I think is easily the best on stage tonight. It's imaginative, creative, and beautiful. She looks like she is ready to perform an entire magic show, and I'm here to watch. This is hot. Lemon's look also super gorgeous, and I love how she continues to play with new colors this season other than yellow. Her makeup and wig tonight was absolutely top tier. This look is so hot. So moving into round 2 of the reading battles, we've got Eureka versus Cheryl minus the hole. And Eureka actually started off pretty decently in this battle and had some funny material about being thankful to be at Canada's drag race doing community service and not wanting to be too hard on Cheryl because her prior drag race experiences already had been. But she completely derails about midway through, apparently because Cheryl used a joke that she was planning to use about her looking like Princess Fiona. But instead of pivoting and coming up with a creative read, she says something that I still cannot make any sense of. She looks over at Cheryl and says, out of drag, you look like you were a part of human trafficking, which is obviously a very sensitive topic to start, but also like, where is the punchline in that? I don't know what she was trying to say. As soon as she said it, the entire room in that audience just went silent and everyone's like, what the hell just came out of her mouth? And even Eureka knew she really effed up at that point because she started apologizing and saying I had to say something because she stole my joke. But yeah, Eureka really dropped the ball here and this was a rot. The challenge was absolutely a high point though tonight for Cheryl, who starts off super strong, just being completely silent after Eureka's first read and then saying, oh, sorry, I wanted to enjoy the silence. It's so hard to come by with this one. My critiques of some of her jokes are that I think the size jokes for Eureka got a little tired. There were several, and I think there are more things to make fun of than that. But overall, she deserved the win here, and this was absolutely a hot. As far as her looks, Eureka's got on a pink dancy catsuit kind of number with some pink fringe down on the waist, and it shimmers gold in the light, which is really cool. And I think a solid look for a performance or even what they were doing here. But as a look that was apparently intended for Runway, it doesn't feel fully conceptualized to me. So I'm gonna give this a rot. And Cheryl was wearing, I think, one of her better looks from this season so far. It has a lot of whimsy and camp value. She's kind of playing into that Barnum and Bailey circus director style, which was fun and worked really well for something where she's delivering reads. This was hot. And finally, in round 3 of the reading battles, we've got Kennedy Davenport versus Alexis Mateo. Even though Kennedy does take the win in this round, I wasn't super impressed by what she did in my first watch. Her delivery felt kind of nervous and missing that confidence that we could hear in like Alexis's voice on the other side of the stage. And I just didn't get some of her jokes, even though it was one of those situations where you're kind of laughing because it's unhinged and crazy and kooky, but you're sitting there wondering like, what did she just say and why did she say it? For example, she talks about knowing Alexis was one of those kids who sniffed the seat when somebody got up. And then there's another part where she's making fun of Alexis's hairline and then sneezes her wig off for comedic effect, which again, I was like, okay, this is kind of funny and entertaining, but what is the punchline here? But she absolutely had the judges and audience by the neck, and she knew it because the way she closed the show was super strong. Alexis was apparently going in for her closing read, and she just totally cuts her off and clearly has a good time doing it, which is another really great thing about this pair specifically. The chemistry was very good. It's clear that they're friends. It's clear they care about each other, even though they are passing those reads back and forth. As far as Alexis's material, I don't think she had the most original jokes, but she was confident. I understood the punchlines very clearly. There was the one about Kennedy having to take her beautiful smile out of her mouth every night and put it in a jar to clean it. And then the classic, if you're gonna be two-faced, at least make one of them pretty. And so I'd give them both hots for what they did here, but I do think Alexis was a little stronger, even though the judges didn't share that opinion by a mile. Kennedy's look tonight is blue, sparkly rhinestone bodysuit. It's very Vegas, very showgirls. It's fine, but I also don't think it's anything we haven't seen from Kennedy, and also is kind of missing a concept like Eureka's. So she looks good, it's just kind of boring. So I'm gonna give it a rot. Alexis, though, looks absolutely stunning. I love this gold color on her and all the mirrors and reflecting moments that she has in this, especially with those giant hair horns, pigtails that wrap around. I don't know what to call them, but they're gorgeous. And this look is totally hot. But Kennedy does secure her second win in this competition, and she then has to choose between Alexis, Eureka, and Fierce for giving the golden beaver. And there is a really nice segment in there Untucked where Fierce shows a softer side, putting her little petulant inner child aside and graciously announcing that she doesn't even want the golden beaver this episode because she's already been a recipient in the past and feels like she owes it to herself and everyone to prove her worthiness of being in this competition by lip syncing. And so Kennedy ultimately gives the golden beaver to Alexis, which I don't think really surprised anyone because they are friends. And of these three queens in the bottom, Alexis definitely had the best critiques. And so we see a lip sync between Eureka and Fiercalicious to Pussycat Dolls' Hush 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 Hush, in which, yes, we did see Eureka pull some high kicks in the ballad, but in my opinion, I don't think the high kicks were enough to pull ahead of the total song embodiment that Fierce gave to this track. She did really great, I think, expressing a range of emotion in her face as she lip synced, and Fierce had some backbend tricks of her own to pull out. And so I think the judges definitely made the right sense in asking Fierce to stay here. But now let's talk drama this episode, because Miss Fierce is providing us a lot of content to discuss. And as I mentioned earlier, the runway segment from this episode was missing, which was a little upsetting because that's normally my favorite part of the Drag Race episodes. It also didn't totally surprise me because there have been US seasons where they didn't do runway portions, specifically in episodes where they're doing these roast-like challenges, like in seasons 5, 9, and 14. However, according to Miss Fiercalicious, there apparently was a runway. It just got cut in the editing room. After the episode aired, Fierce posted this to her X profile. Usually I get mad at the cast after the episodes, but tonight I'm mostly furious at production. How dare you not air our runways tonight? Some of us spent a lot of money on our runways and they deserve to be showcased. I'm like actually not over this. This is the first time where I agree everyone did really well in the challenge, and the bullshit moment was us not getting to showcase our subways. There, I think she meant runways, especially after we're told they'd get shown. And with this behind the scenes tea being spilled, she then ranked the runways in a separate post saying, I'm gonna rank them since y'all couldn't see them live. 1, me, 2, Lemon, Alexis, Cheryl, Eureka, and then last, Kennedy. And later, Fierce posted some photo shoots of this runway where she showcases that there was apparently a double-sided mirror segment and a saw that made it look like she was performing the old cutting the lady in half magician trick, but on herself. But these were parts of her look that she removed for the challenge portion of the episode, so we never got to see them. Which, by the way, she clarifies the theme for these looks was razzle dazzle, presenting anything showgirl, circus, or magician themed. And to her point, yeah, it really does suck to not have the queens actually walk their runways. But it was even weirder considering we're at a point in this competition where there's only 6 queens, and there's tons of filler in the episode between the extra long critiques for each queen after their portions, and then also all of the workroom stuff. And you know, the reasons that these cuts were made are ultimately only going to be known to the producers and editors, but Fierce did have a theory. A drag theory. In which she says, I kind of feel they took out the runways and the judges critiquing us on our runways to justify Kennedy's win. Don't get me wrong, Kennedy killed the challenge and had us all in stitches, but Cheryl lost the improv challenge because of her runway, yet Kennedy wins in a bodysuit. And whether Fierce's theory is right or not, my opinion is I was actually confused not only by Kennedy winning her duo segment, but also the challenge as a whole. Because to me, it felt like Lemon was more prepared, more confident, quicker on her feet, and funnier overall. But I also feel like picking an overall winner from the 3 different queens who technically won their duo segments was gonna be a little arbitrary anyways. And the whole challenge was a little weird because they build it as a battle, and so my mind was thinking, oh great, we're gonna see like a lip sync Lollapalooza bracket. Or maybe they could have done a combined thing where they made the 3 winners of the 3 duos lip sync. I don't know, something just to sort of like put a bow on who was the clear winner overall. And finally, let's talk hottest hats. In the challenge, I'm gonna give it to Lemon, and on the runway, well, the runway that wasn't Miss Fiercalicious. And I also asked my patrons to this week vote on their favorite queen in the reading battle duos. And in the 3 rounds, their preferred queens were Lemon, Cheryl, and Alexis Mateo. And finally, I want to say thanks so much to you for watching this video and give an extra special shout out to Patrick Two, Derek G, and Perry Sai, who've all joined my Patreon at the hot and hottest hot tiers, and Ashton, Felicia, Laura, Matthew Burns, Nicole, Minst, and Will and Tana, who are all supporting me at my Bussy Queen Collector tier at patreon.com. See y'all later. Love ya. Bye.